All right, so if you run a dental implant practice and you're losing 7 out of 10 patients at the consult, I need to tell you something your marketing agency will never say out loud. The problem is not your consult, it is not your dentist or your TCO, it's who's walking through the door. And so by the end of this video, you know exactly why your show rate maybe looks fine, but your conversion rate doesn't, and what the top 5% of practices are doing differently. I'm Arman, I run Relax AI, and we build patient acquisition systems for implant practices in the US and the UK. And what I'm about to show you is not an opinion, it's a pattern. All right, the same pattern every time. So quick promise on what we're covering so you can decide if it's worth the next 10 minutes. Number one, the real reason most implant consults do not close. And I'll tell you now, it's not what you think. Number two, the 4 hidden costs of a tire kicker consult. What it's actually costing your practice every single month that nobody's putting on a P&L. Number three, what the top 5% of practices have built. And it's not a marketing tactic, it's a mechanism. And lastly, 4 here, a 4-question checklist you can take to any agency, any vendor tomorrow morning. And if they can't answer yes to all 4, you've got your answer. So that's it, let's get into it. Quick credibility note before I make any claims. I've personally reviewed the back end of more than 200 implant practices, UK, US, and it's different markets, different currencies, different payer mixers, but the exact same pattern every time. So when I tell you what I'm about to tell you, it's not theory, it's the data set. Okay, let's look at it. So here's what the standard implant funnel looks like in nearly every practice I audit. You spend money on Meta or Google. Let's say you generate 100 leads in a month. Of those 100, your front desk and your TCO get about 30 onto the calendar. And out of those 30, of the ones that show up, you close about 2 cases. Say hi to the cat. Cool. Now, if you're looking at that dashboard, it doesn't really look broken, right? The calendar's full, TCO is busy, cases are coming in, and your agency's monthly report says, great month. But here's what nobody's telling you. Of those 30 consults, about 20 of them were never gonna buy. Not because your TCO is bad, not because the price is too high, but because they could not afford it, full stop. They're what we call tire kickers, time wasters, people who clicked an ad, filled the form, took the calendar slot, but the moment a 15,000 number or a 40,000 full arch number hits the table, they flinch, right? All of a sudden, they need to think about it, they need to speak to their partner, and they ghost. So you're not actually running an implant practice, you're running a consultation factory for people who can't afford implants. And the worst part is that, the lead volume, that number that your agency keeps reporting as a win, is a vanity metric in a high ticket category like ours. It sort of tells you nothing about whether the right person is sitting in the chair. Which brings us to the part nobody's auditing, which is what those wrong consults actually cost you. So 4 hidden costs most practices, let me make myself smaller here, for most practices have never sat down and added them up. The first one, chair time, right? Every tire kicker consult is roughly 60 minutes of clinical time that should have been generating treatment. And multiply that by 20 a month. That's 30 hours of your most expensive resource burned on people who were never gonna say yes. Number 2 is TCO morale. This one's sneaky because when your team hears no, yes, no, they start expecting the yes. And so their tone drops, they start over explaining, they start discounting, they lose their edge. And so confidence is contagious, but so is the lack of it. Number 3, distorted ROAS. So your dashboard says you're 5-1, but because the conversion rate is being dragged down by patients who couldn't buy, that real number, which net of chair time, TCO time, and clinical staff cost, is actually closer to break even. And so it looks profitable on paper, but it doesn't hit the bank. And 4, compounding no-shows, right? Non-serious bookings will poison your show rate stats, which means your team starts overbooking to compensate. Which means good patients, show up to a chaotic front desk, which means they leave unimpressed. And so the whole machine slowly degrades, and that's the bill. Okay, most practices pay it every month and call it the cost of marketing, but it's not. It's the cost of bad filtering. All right. And so the question becomes, if this is happening in 200 practices, why hasn't somebody fixed it? And the answer is uncomfortable. There are 2 different scoreboards being played on, and they don't really agree. Your agency is paid on lead volume, and so their dashboard reports leads, clicks, cost per lead, and their job usually ends the second the lead form fires. And they win when your calendar fills. You, on the other hand, are paid on closed cases. You care about case acceptance. And so your job starts at the chair. You win when a patient says yes. And those are not the same job. They're not even adjacent jobs. And the gap between lead form fires and patient sits in your chair, finance ready, that gap is where most practices bleed money. And neither side has been incentivized to close it. So your TCO becomes the de facto qualifier, which means the most expensive person in your funnel is doing a job that should have been done before they ever met the patient. Which sort of leads me to the reframe. Qualification is not a sales step, it is a marketing step. Okay? Once you internalize that one sentence, this whole thing changes. Because right now your TCO is being asked to do something no human should ever do, which is figured out in real time whether the person sitting in front of them can afford a $15,000, $20,000, $40,000 treatment plan. That should never have made it to the chair. So how do we move it? Let me show you exactly how the top 5% of practices are doing it. 3-step phase flow, right? Soft credit check plus debt to income ratio, pre-approval visible, calendar gating. 3 phases, that is the infrastructure. Phase 1, soft credit check and debt to income check, right? It's a soft pull, it has no impact on the patient's credit score, and it runs before they ever see your calendar. And what's pretty cool is they don't even know it's happening in the background. It's done instantly and automatically. And so they answered a couple of questions in the same flow. As they underneath though, the system is figured out whether this person can finance an implant case. Phase 2, pre-approval visible. So the TCO sees finance status before the consult begins. They walk into the room knowing this patient is approved at this level. And so that just creates a completely different conversation entirely. There's no price awkwardness, no let me check with finance, it's already been checked. And phase 3, calendar gating. So non-qualified leads cannot self-book. They do not hit the calendar. They don't take a chair slot. They get a different journey, which is usually a nurture sequence, an in-house savings plan offer, or a let's revisit in 6 months track. Like the software, if they have, we usually go with below 670 at credit score because that's just considered poor. The scheduler sort of says, sorry, we don't have any available times, and so they're not allowed to book in. And that way the chair stays sacred. And here's why this is the entire game. You don't change the TCO, you don't change the close, you don't change the script, you don't change the price. You only change who walks in. Same chair, same dentist, same team, same number on the treatment plan, different patient. And that single change is responsible for almost everything you're gonna see in the math in the next few slides. So watch what happens. Same calendar, 30 consults this month, But out of those 30, now 25 are finance ready before they ever walk in. They are pre-approved. They are psychologically prepared for the price conversation. They are there to make a decision, not to see what the numbers look like. And so the result is your close rate triples. Now, on average, in every market, we've done this. It will literally triple. Nothing in your consult changed. The TCO didn't get a new script. The dentist didn't change the pitch. The price didn't move. Only who walked in changed. Which is why I started this video by saying the problem is not your sales skills. It really isn't. It's the filter. Now, let me give you one example. This was a single location implant practice. 12 months ago, they were doing 2 cases per month from paid marketing. Referrals were carrying the practice, chair was tight, and we installed this exact infrastructure, soft credit qualification, pre-approval visibility, and calendar gating. 12 months later, they're running 15-to-1 return on ad spend, and it's the same dentist, same TCO, same chairs. We didn't add a single appointment slot. All we changed was the filter. And the reason I'm mentioning this number is if you're thinking, well, my market's different. We see the same in the UK, in the US, everywhere. The currency changes, the architecture doesn't. Now, I told you at the start, I would give you a checklist you can take to any provider tomorrow morning. Well, here it is. 4 questions. If they can answer yes to all 4, you've got your answer. Number 1, are leads finance qualified before they hit the calendar? If no, your TCO is doing the qualifying, and that's the wrong place for it. Number 2, is there a structured authority pre-frame in the 72 hours before the consult? If no, your patient is walking in cold to a 10 to 40K decision. They're gonna flinch. Number 3, is there a 24/7 lead routing? Not, we get back to you Monday. If no, your weekend leads are buying somewhere else. People research at 9 p.m., they want answers at 9 p.m. 4, do you own the infrastructure or are you renting it from the agency every month? Again, if no, you're a tenant in your own patient acquisition. The day you leave that agency, you leave with nothing. So take this checklist, email it to your current agency this week, and ask them to answer it in writing. Watch what happens. Now, here's what I want you to walk away with. If the answer to any one of those 4 questions is a no, you don't really have a marketing problem. You have an architecture problem. And no amount of new ads, new agencies, or new closer training is going to fix an architecture that's broken. You have to fix it at the level it's broken at. And so in the next video I'll upload, I open up the actual 4-system infrastructure the top practices are running, the celebrity authority ad strategy, the credit-based qualification, AI-routed lead handling, and the performance dashboard your agency is never gonna give you. It's the part that turns marketing from something you rent to something you own. I'll see you in the next video.